married the love of my youth. I learnt years later that he had been unfaithful to me ever since we got married. My husband, 23M, and I met when we were 9 years old, and we began dating at 12. Remember, this was the middle school romance when he cheated on me when we were either 15 or 16. We went through periods of being on and off till we turned 17. At 18, I won a full scholarship to a national athletics and academics institution. I detested my first and only semester there. I had no friends and detested the coaches and the team. At the age of 18, we were engaged after he took a plane to see me. We got married in a courtroom after he returned on a plane a little over a month later. When the semester ended, I returned home. When he enlisted in a very challenging, prestigious branch of the military, I was 19 years old. He had to go for 3 months for training, which was challenging, but we managed. After returning for a few weeks, he left again for several more months to attend school for his specific line of work. Later on, I would learn that he registered for himself on Bumble at this period, and upgraded for extra swipes for more than $50. He is adamant that he never met anyone through it, and that all of his discussions were only introductions. A few years later, I would learn that he had also spent more than $600 at a strip club. He claims he paid for a VIP room for one of his friends after feeling forced by seniors to attend. After receiving the hotel, he ran out of money, and my husband warned him that his friend might get into problems. From what I've heard, he would travel up and down the coast that weekend, visiting several clubs, including another strip club. We bought our first house together after moving states. He deployed at the age of 20. Our lives would be quite difficult at this point, and they would get increasingly harder once he arrived home. While serving overseas, he became addicted to pornography. I recall checking one of his social media profiles at 4 in the morning while sitting on the bathroom floor. I could see that his following was growing roughly every 5 minutes, every pornographic account. He would put pressure on me to take photos and films, and I would feel bad if I didn't comply, because I thought he would find someone else to fulfill his demands. We got along well when he returned home after 6 months of work, but after a few weeks I saw that he would almost run straight to the toilet and have a shower, lasting more than 45 minutes. On occasion, I would even go into the loo afterward, and even though the floor was still slick, I could tell he had dropped the lubricant bottle there. Alternatively, I could see the bottom of the bottle and the ring on the counter. I tried my best to ignore it, but one day I noticed a $30 charge to a very intriguing-sounding person on our account. When I challenged him, he looked away and inhaled deeply, spat out a hasty excuse, running a hand over his hair, saying that his buddy's wife had bought them all lunch during work. I don't know why, but I just responded okay and moved on. A few minutes later, he stood up, claimed to be sick, and went to lie down. An hour later, I received a text from him apologizing and revealing that he had been addicted to porn while on deployment, sending money to a female for her premium Snapchat account or something like that. He claims that after sending the money, he erased her without even looking at anything since he was so overcome with guilt. I remembered that he had bought me flowers the day this transaction happened. It is something new that he has done, not even on noteworthy events. The dates get confused for me beyond this point. Although I can't recall what happened first, when, or how far apart, I'll try to provide as much detail as I can recall. Later on. Perhaps in a few weeks or months. An old acquaintance messaged me on a certain social media platform when I woke up. We were still 20, maybe even 21. I can't quite recall what she said, but I think it was something like, "I just wanted you to know that 4X said this to me the previous evening, while having a drink at a friend's house across the street. He had texted her that he missed her and loved her." I really wish I could recall more, but for some reason I'm unable to do so. She remarked something like, "You can't be saying this because you're married," and he responded, "I don't care." I yelled at him to get up, but he remained intoxicated. I informed him I desired a separation. I wanted to feel anything other than how I was feeling at the time, so I armed myself and locked myself in the toilet. I have no idea how much time has gone by. He denied sending the messages when he opened the door. He claimed that while his friend was using his phone to play music, he had left it plugged into the speaker. He claimed that after reading the girl's account, his friend must have messaged her about trying to get nude. He even produced his phone to show that he was telling the truth, a text exchange between him and his friend showing that the friend had sent her a message and apologized. I'm not sure why, but I accepted him right away. I recall experiencing the happiest feeling possible, whatever it is that you feel, when you exhale a breath you've been holding and say, "Oh, thank God I'm not sure what that is." I feel like I'm missing something, and as I write this, I'm growing angry at how much I'm forgetting. I believe it struck the fan when I was 21. At this point, I believe I had searched through his phone multiple times, discovering links to hundreds of different websites and internet histories that he had clicked through one of his social media accounts, NS sites. I looked through all of his dollar account history from 2018 one night and saw the transaction for Bumble and the strip club. He said that a senior used his card because it had frozen or something absurd like that, and that wasn't him making the erroneous charge. Naturally, I trusted him. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure when I discovered that he had lied to me about messaging the girl on social media. I believe it happened after I had another look at his phone and discovered text exchanges between him and the friend who was purportedly the sender. His friend made a comment along the lines of, "Bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me, LOL," but what I didn't want to believe was verified by both of them. My spouse had grabbed my phone, erased the messages the girl had written, and enlisted his friend in this convoluted tale. I'm not sure when I learned that he actually downloaded and paid for Bumble upgrades. I believe I simply persuaded him to stop lying at this point by questioning him for an extended period of time. According to him, he has never met anyone. He also stated in the conversation that I only paid for the upgrade because I was never swiped for by anyone. I'm not sure when we went to the base's legal department to obtain the paperwork needed to petition for divorce. Save for one other occasion, I had never witnessed him cry before. He sobbed so much that he wouldn't let me see it after we were married at the airport. Burying my face in his chest, he gave me a hug without making eye contact. He said he didn't want to go, but as soon as I informed him this was it, and that I had an appointment and the necessary documents ready to file for divorce, he started crying all the time. I had never seen him quite like this. He apologized all the time and deleted all of his social media accounts, weeping without warning, claiming things like he would never get married again, that I could take our entire money, and that if I wanted to go to college, he would pay for it. We attended marital counseling after I gave in. He really did step up. He no longer used his phone at all, would leave his phone face up on the table with it unlocked, informed me that I may review it whenever I wanted. Even before I arrived home from work, he had begun making dinner and tidying the house. He gave up drinking with his pals. It made a total 180. For a period of time, the problems began when a panic attack would be brought on by anything. I would always get nervous when he went out with his pals, maybe a few. Weeks later, he started drinking with his friends once more. When he told me he would be home one night, and I didn't see him, I broke. This toxic cycle had only begun when I wound up in the ICU. Something he would do would set me off. Whether it's going out to drink with his pals or occasionally watching a half-naked woman hopping up and down on YouTube, I would notice it in his watch history. I wanted him to feel the same way I did, so I would yell at him, curse at him, and treat him badly. In the end, marriage counseling probably made a big difference. I at last received my own therapist after leaving the hospital. My best friend was her. Even now, I continue to text her. Where we resided, I was alone and had no pals. Every day he worked with his pals, and on the weekends they would all go out to parties. I was alone, with no one. My family and friends had returned home. I've always had a hard time establishing friends since I'm timid and suffer from severe social anxiety. I also find it difficult to speak up in front of more than 3 people at a time. I would always feel so alone when he left to go somewhere. We had a big improvement in our marriage again around the age of 22. Together, we went on a trip where we resolved a lot of problems and had incredible communication about our emotions. We were both really sad, but we managed to work things out amicably and communicate limits that we both respected. A few months before his contract expired, I moved in at the age of 23. After tying up his loose ends at work and the house, he moved back in with me. He attempted to work a blue-collar night shift job, where he was able to make a fair living even more than he had in the military. However, he detested it. He detested every aspect of it. He missed his work and his buddies. His family consisted of his pals. I have never seen him seem sincerely depressed until now. He enlisted in a new military branch 5 months later. I wished for him not to. I wanted him to stay with me and lead a regular life. I desired to have a family and have regular jobs. He doesn't. He claimed he has no desire to start a family. In the meantime, my best friend, whom I rarely got to see, had a kid, and I had started nursing school. I was finally able to spend every weekday evenings with a bunch of friends and relatives. He moved on and was stationed in another state, but this one was just roughly 600 miles apart. It's far, yet drivable. In just 1 week, he returned home for a visit. By now, we were getting along really well, calling and texting frequently. He departed a little more than a month ago to travel across the nation for a 6-week desert exercise. For the most part, he was without his phone, but he did manage to text me once, more than a week ago. After that, he didn't text me again until I messaged him to inform him about the passing of one of my pets. He answered right away. He's had his phone with him, but he hasn't been communicating with me, I've realized. He texted me in the morning of yesterday to let me know that he wanted to visit his extended family in a different state for the following holiday, and that he would be spending the next one, with an old military buddy from his former branch. Since then, we've had a lot of conversations, none of them positive. He told me he was concentrating on his objectives when I inquired why he was pushing me away. I tried to let him know he didn't have to be alone and that I would support him, but I felt like I was being pushed to the back burner until he was ready to accept me and our marriage. You can't, though, he said. You say you can, but you didn't back the CIA or college, so I thought I should handle this on my own to dispel some of the negative. And I understood he was correct. When he brought up college, we were probably around 21 or 22, and I laughed at him because I didn't think he was serious. I didn't think he was capable of doing it. He hardly made it out of high school. He attended a total of 4 different high schools, never exceeding a GPA of 1.5. I made an effort to help him out by doing his schoolwork, but he was uninterested. Since public school would not fit into my athletic schedule, I even got him enrolled in the same online academy where I attended. I had to handle all of his assignments and classes because he would never finish them. In the end, he received his diploma from what is known as an alternative high school. He told me he was going to join the CIA, then that he wanted to go to college. I just couldn't fathom this. He wanted my support, but I also didn't want to tell him I didn't think he was capable of succeeding, so I wasn't sure what to do. I suppose I don't now, and it makes me feel terrible, and I can't even begin to think how it feels to have your partner stop being there for you. I'm not sure how to encourage him to do something that I don't think he's capable of. And here we are at this moment. We both don't want to get divorced. We both understand that our relationship hasn't always been ideal. Neither of us knows what to do. Without him, I would feel completely alone and lost. He and I have known each other for over 50 years. Our personalities develop in relation to one another. We both speak and behave in the same way. Together, we went through childhood and adulthood. Together. I would simply like to emphasize that these were the worst of the times that I have listed. Together, we've enjoyed some incredible experiences. Together, we have an incredible amount of fun. I laugh harder at him than at anyone else. He has been there for every significant event in my life, and is well versed in every aspect of me. I'm really afraid about what's ahead. If my spouse and I divorce, I'm afraid to notify my relatives. I want to be more than just a statistic. I am aware that we are a military family, and that we were married young. Although I am aware that the majority of these marriages terminate in divorce, I genuinely believed that we were unique. I'd rather not start over. I know that being almost 24 is still young, but I've known him for 14 years. By now, I had assumed we would have begun discussing starting a family. He claims he doesn't even think he wants a family, and that all he wants to do is concentrate on his work. I'm at a loss on what to do right now. I hope you are still with me, reading this. I'm sorry if I seem disorganized. I have never told anyone about any of this. I feel helpless and ashamed of my circumstances and don't know what to do anymore. I'm quite anxious to read any responses as I anticipate knowing what they will all say. I wanted to sort of offer an update and respond to some questions after receiving criticism from over 1,000 individuals in the comment area. To start with, I can type like a mother effer. My entire goal in writing this message was to remain anonymous, but that was evident as soon as I hit the keyboard. I had no idea that this would receive more than a few thousand views and a few comments. I had to see everything for myself in one place, so I typed out every embarrassing detail. I must be a very tiring person to be around if I tell my friends and family all of this. Someone once said, "No one knows, and that will make you happy." I have never disclosed even a small portion of what has occurred to any of my friends or family. I ended up creating an epic because of this. My mind has become this complicated, rose-colored jumble of a brain, and I wanted someone to know everything and tell me what to do. I'm not even sure. I know why I have painted my spouse as this charismatic, loving, strong, and charming provider. I've wanted to be the fucking best at everything my entire life. Every day after practice, my dad's favorite thing to say to me was, "Second place is just the first loser," and I clingingly clung to that. I was the finest. Out of the more than 700 students in my high school class, I was the best student. I have numerous prizes and medals. One year I did place second at nationals, even though I don't think of it as an accomplishment. I know it is. However, I wanted it to have some significance because I left behind a full-ride athletic and academic scholarship after quitting college. I couldn't stand it and loathed it, so I never told anyone I was leaving. I wanted to support my spouse, so I told everyone I got married and he joined the Marine Corps. I wanted no one to know that I was not a hacker. It had to be worthwhile for me. It would have been pointless if I experienced marital difficulties or ended up divorcing. I would have suffered another defeat. I also can't fail. My older siblings received CS and DS in school, so I spent my childhood hiding in my closet listening to my dad yell at the top of his lungs at them. I understood what it would cost to lose. I wouldn't lose either. When I was a child, My mom cheated on my dad. One morning I awoke to their screams on the front lawn. My dad grabbed my mom's arm and tore her out of the car as she tried to get into her own vehicle to go to work. They are unaware that I witnessed that. If you want to call it that, they worked through it. I believed that to be the appropriate course of action. I used to believe that marriage was meant to be difficult, and that you should give your all to work through the ups and downs. Many have questioned if this is how I want to spend the rest of my life. Naturally, I don't. What kind of person would desire that? Why did I continue after the initial encounter? Starving people, though, will consume anything. Actually, I have read every single comment, even the offensive ones. You guys are such arseholes. And I needed it. God damn it. It took me more than 1,000 people telling me I'm a blind idiot before I realized that this isn't how marriage is meant to work. With the fact that I merit better, since I really do. I really do deserve better. And to everyone who has said, I'm not leaving, know that I haven't yet. I'm going to fucking show you wrong. I will no longer be returning. I will not give up easily. Although I had heard the term sunk cost fallacy, I was unaware of its definition. I do at this moment. I want to thank each and every one of you. Even those who think this was a creative writing project for school. I laughed to myself when I realized how horrible my marriage and my life have been. August 2nd, 2024 update no. 2. Hello everyone, almost a year has passed. It seems unbelievable that nearly a full year has passed. I hope I did it well and it wasn't erased, because I don't think I've ever made an update like this before. I truly did intend to update sooner. However, I've been occupied with making the most of my life. To be completely honest, I never really considered that life could be this enjoyable. I have never felt such contentment in my life. To be honest, I'm finding it difficult to express how wonderful my life has become. I probably filed for divorce 48 hours after publishing that piece. A month later, the divorce papers were signed, and 2 months later, it was finalized. Thank God it was totally uncontested. We didn't split any assets or children. In actuality, it was far simpler than I had anticipated. To be honest, informing my family, especially my mother, was the hardest part. Unfortunately, I painted him in such a lovely light that everyone fell in love with him. I felt terrible. And it was almost like a slap in the face for her to find out. She sobbed for several days. However, she gave me a lot of support. I had such amazing support from everyone. I just turned 25. I made the decision to become a licensed nurse practitioner. That's the course I'm now taking. This year, I've made a ridiculous number of new friends. I go out and have fun while I'm not working. Every day I do something enjoyable. I'll do my best to respond to any comments, but as you can see, I'm really starting to discover who I am these days. And I'm really, really great. I have a lot of potential. I am also courageous. I have such bravery. I did create a very great buddy named Bethany 2300 from my first post. If you and my best buddy Katie are reading this, then thank you. I appreciate your unwavering love. There's an ability to hold me accountable. At least until I posted that first post and got so many insightful responses, I truly had no idea what a terrible situation I was in. However, a lot of individuals were correct. I already knew the response to my query. It's actually a little strange to consider it. It's not even tangible. I can barely recall anything from the past few years of my life when I try to reflect on it. It feels almost like I'm attempting to remember a narrative that I was told by someone else. When it comes to the things I do remember, I remember them almost as a spectator or an unseen third party in the space. I can't even begin to picture how terrible this poor girl must be going through. I can't even claim that it feels like me. As soon as he left, my true life began. We no longer communicate. Since December, we haven't actually communicated much. One of our final conversations. His anger stemmed from the divorce and his regret, and he went on to threaten to kill any future dates I might have. To the best of my knowledge, it is documented, although I doubt that he would ever behave in that manner. This year, he hasn't even returned to the state. He's probably too busy. The last I heard on the grapevine, he got wasted, went out for a one-night fling, and ended up getting a girl pregnant. She desires to retain the child. He doesn't. She may have even broken the hell out of his car with a brick. If I could impart one final bit of wisdom to him, it would be to open a savings account for the future costs of therapy for this unfortunate child, and to inquire if he has ever come to the realization that nearly all of his significant blunders in life have been made while intoxicated. However, it's not a problem I have. I'm never going to talk to him again, and I'm happy and confident enough to express that. To everyone who told me I couldn't leave, that I wouldn't be able to do it. Thank you and fuck you. Yes, I did. Yes, I did depart. I ran instead of walking. I ran like a fuck. And I didn't turn around. I appreciate you saving my life.